The wait is finally over. Football is finally here. And guys, that means it is time for us to go over our picks for the first Sunday slate of the glorious NFL season. It's great to be back. I'm your host, Thomas Viola, and joining me each and every Sunday to break down their favorite picks against the spread, their favorite total plays, and their favorite props, Matt F. the Oracle and Pat Fitzmaurice. Guys, are you ready for some football?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure Pat, seeing that he can bet on his Packers as underdogs now, I'm sure he's very excited.
Yeah, I might have just played that one a few minutes ago, and yeah, what a great day. I don't know about you guys, but getting out of bed was not hard today. It was like there was a spring-loaded coil underneath my side of the mattress this morning. So
even here in the Las Vegas Pacific time zone, a 7 a.m. wake up on a football Sunday is never a hard thing. But guys, we don't have a ton of time, so let's get right into it here with some of your favorite plays for the spread this weekend. Matt, I'm going to start off with you. There was a lot of overnight line movement, but one game that has stayed pretty solid here. Our friends at BetMGM have the Browns and Panthers squarely locked at Panthers -1.5. Where are you going in this game?
Yeah, I mean, this number is just kind of hovering around that pick'em range. I'm looking at Browns 1.5, depending on where you can get it. But I really like the Browns in this spot. Panthers head coach Matt Rule, 3-8 against the spread as a favorite, 4-12 against the spread at home, 1-6 against the spread as a home favorite. Also 1-6 against the spread. 1-6 on the money line as a home favorite. Like, that dude is just horrible when he should be having an edge. I think this is Baker Mayfield versus the Browns secondary. They're number 3 in our unit power rankings. Baker Mayfield, suffice it to say, is not a top 3 quarterback in the league, and his pass catchers are pretty bad. I love DJ Moore, but after Moore, it's a cavalcade of underwhelming receivers, and Moore is likely, I think, to see shadow coverage from Denzel Ward, who is a top 5 cornerback in the league. Man, I would bet this down to Browns at a pick'em. Browns +5. I think the Browns should be favored in this game.
I'm excited to see Robbie Anderson without Sam Darnold, but I get your point there. Pat, your first game up here is the Giants versus the Titans, and we got lucky. Neither of these games were part of the overline line movement. New York Giants still 5.5-point dogs here in this one.
yeah, I'm leaning into the uncertainty of week 1 here, Thomas. Like, I just in our staff power rankings, as Freedman just referenced, we have the Titans ranked 18th and the Giants ranked 23rd. So we don't see that big of a gap here. And, I don't like the fact that the Giants might be without their 2 starting edge rushers, Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari. But Harold Landry also missing for the Titans. So they've got a big piece of their pass rush missing too. I still trust Wink Martindale to pull something together for the Giants. He's going to blitz a lot and dial up the pressure and play man defense. And do the Titans have big playmakers who can, make Martindale pay for that sort of defensive scheme? And I don't think they do. There's not a lot of speed and big play capability on this Titans offense. I think the Giants can hang tough. I think Brian Daboll, in an interesting coaching matchup, like Mike Vrabel is definitely an above-average head coach, but I can't wait to see what Daboll has cooking in week 1, and I think the Giants are going to be surprisingly feisty here.
I am excited for this game as well. Like you said, I think the Giants have the potential to be very feisty here, but the next one we have up on our slate, Matt, you are going down to Miami with the New England Patriots, 3.5-point dogs on the road in this spot as Bill Belichick and his 290 career wins go up against Mike McDaniel's 0 career wins. What are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, obviously going with the Patriots here at +3.5. I think this line should be like 1.5. So going through the 3, I think is some real key value here. Belichick is 30-15-2 against the spread as an underdog. I think this game comes down to the run offense for the Patriots against the Dolphins run defense. In our unit power rankings at Fantasy Pros, the Patriots offensive line is top 10. The Dolphins defensive line is outside the top 20. In a lot of key stats last year, the Patriots were in the top 8 running the ball. And, at best, the Dolphins were average. And now they're missing Brian Flores, who I think gave them a real edge last year, given that he came from New England and so had familiarity with Belichick and was a defensive-focused coach. The Patriots, they've been a gap-heavy rushing team for years. They're now implementing some zone blocking scheme into the offense. They've reportedly struggled with it, but I don't think that means they're necessarily going to struggle in this game. I just think it means that they're adding more to what they do in the running game because they know the running game is what drives the entirety of their offense. Even though they've lost some players on the offensive line this year, they still have good continuity there. 4 of the starters there have started multiple seasons for the team, and so they've got continuity there. And then they added Cole Strange in the draft, who is a run blocking mauler machine. So Damian Harris from Andre Stevenson, I think one of the best duos out of any backfield that we could look at. And the Dolphins are foundationally weak in the middle of their run defense, with nose tackle Raekwon Davis having a 36.1 PFF run defense grade last year. I think the Patriots just grind out a win here by controlling the clock with their running game.
Belichick has had some historical struggles in Miami, but I have no desire to bet against him against a head coach making his first career start. I'm with you on this one. Pat, this is where things start to get a little bit dicey here. The Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Arizona Cardinals. You like this game at Chiefs 5.5. Do you still like it now that our friends at BetMGM have moved it to 6.5?
Yeah, I do. And generally, I'm not a big fan of these huge road favorites. But the Chiefs, first of all, I think they've got a major play calling mismatch with Andy Reid against Cliff Kingsbury. No J.J. Watt for the Cardinals today. No Trayvon Mullen at cornerback, and possibly no Byron Murphy, who's questionable. So I think Patrick Mahomes could just feast on this Arizona pass defense. And then on the other side of the ball, DeAndre Hopkins serving a 6-game suspension. Rondale Moore isn't going to play today. It sounds like Zach Ertz will play today, but probably at less than 100%. And we know this KC defense is probably going to be dramatically improved on the defensive side of the ball. They got an infusion of rookie talent this year with Trent McDuffie at cornerback, George Karlaftis on the edge, and my guy Leo Chenal from the University of Wisconsin as an off-ball linebacker. Freedman knew I was going to mention him. So, last time we saw the Cardinals after their great start in 2021, they were absolutely stumbling home down the stretch last year. So I do like the Chiefs to just outclass the Cardinals.
I am very worried about this Cardinals offense with those missing pieces as well. I still like this number even at that price. But sometimes if you snooze, you lose. You had all offseason to grab this number, and now it's gone. The Chicago Bears, 6.5 now, down from 7-point home dogs against the San Francisco 49ers. Matt, you like this number at 7. Do you still like it at 6.5?
Yeah, I mean, call me a sicko. I'm still gonna bet on it at this price. Like, I think it should be like 4.5. And so I still think that there's some value because 6 is still a little bit of a key number in today's NFL. And, for the 49ers head coach, Kyle Shanahan, 16-24-1 against the spread as a favorite, 15-21-1 against the spread without Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers have a number of key injuries. Center Daniel Brunskill, he is probably out, which means that the 49ers are starting 3 new interior linemen. I don't think that's a good thing for quarterback Trey Lance making, his first start in his first season as a starter. And then the 49ers obviously missing George Kittle. That's a big deal. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they're without starters, cornerback Jason Verrett and safety Jimmy Ward. And then over the offseason, they lost Josh Norman, Kwan Williams, and Jaquaski Tart. So it's a bad situation for them in the secondary. And Justin Fields, I think he is probably emerging enough to the point where if presented with a weak secondary, even though he's going against a good defense overall, a good defensive line, I think he's going to be able to escape the pressure from them with his running capability and then be able to attack this team downfield with Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. And he looked good in the preseason, better than any of the other second-year quarterbacks. So it's not unthinkable that he takes a second-year step. And I think we see that in week 1.
I am right there with you. I do not trust the 4. I don't trust laying 7 points or 6.5 with a team with a pretty much rookie quarterback making the start here on the road. I'm gonna be right there with you on that game. But the next one, Pat, you're going up against my beloved Jets here. Ravens, they have moved down from 7 to 6.5 point favorites. And I'll tell you, I am right there with you. The Jets are not winning this game. Joe Flacco, Mike White, Zach Wilson, it doesn't matter. But you're on the Ravens as well.
Yeah, before they lost to the Raiders in overtime of Week 1 last year, the Ravens had won 5 straight Week 1 games, and 4 of them by complete blowouts. So last year, they could kind of be forgiven for their slippage because they were still kind of reeling from the late preseason losses of Marcus Peters, one of their ace cornerbacks, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards. So they do have like a problem with Ronnie Stanley being out, and it sounds like J.K. Dobbins is unlikely to play. But look what they're going up against. I mean, a Joe Flacco revenge game against the Ravens, I don't really see it. So I just think the Jets are going to be outpowered here, and 6.5. Again, don't love these big road favorites, but I think this one is one you can take to the bank.
My only fear is that Joe Flacco is able to put it together for one last ride with the relatively good weapons that I think the Jets are going to be able to roll out on offense this season with no one to really take advantage for him. But I am with you here. I'm taking the Ravens 6.5. Guys, we're going to move on to some total bets now. But before we do, I want to remind you that when you're looking for free picks and sports betting advice, BettingPros.com has you covered with tips from over 150 experts to make it easy for you to cash out. Download the app to get sports betting alerts. You'll get notified of favorable bets based on line movements, consensus picks from the most accurate experts, and vetted systems in play. Betting Pros monitors all of the major sportsbooks, most accurate experts, and top systems to identify the best betting opportunities. Download it today in the Apple or Google Play stores. I literally just a moment ago got my notification that Matt Freedman's prop bets are all loaded up and ready for you to tap on with a push of a button right now. We'll talk about a few of those here, but first, let's get into some totals in this one. And we're going back, Matt, to that Dolphins-Patriots game. Total right now has actually moved in your favor. It's up to 46.5.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a nasty game. And I can see why the total would move up, given how explosive this Dolphins offense could be and how bad the Patriots defense could be. But I think, as I mentioned earlier, the key to this game is really on the other side of the ball. The Patriots running and just holding that ball forever, grinding the clock down, and the Dolphins, I'm not saying powerless to stop it, but not as competent to stop it. And so I think it's going to be a pretty disgusting game. The Patriots really slowing everything down and driving the total to the under. And in his first game in a new offense, I also think quarterback Tua Tagovailoa could struggle. And that Shanahan offense is also based on the running game. So even though there's a lot of enthusiasm for the receiving options that they have, I think the Dolphins could lean more on the running game as well, especially if the Patriots play to keep everything in front of them on defense. So I have this projected at 45. Our official Betting Pros projections have this at 44. Given that it's 46.5, I'll take the under.
Now, this next game up, Pat, you and I were talking before we went on air here. We're discussing a very interesting angle in this one. The 49ers-Bears totals at 40 right now, and you're eyeing the under in this spot.
Yeah, and last I saw it was 40.5 on DraftKings, Thomas. So I got back from the morning walk with the dog about 90 minutes ago, just before the rain started here in Chicago, and it is going to rain all day long and into tomorrow. So there's no chance this rain is going to miss Chicago. It is going to be a wet, weather-affected game, and I think that is going to make passing very difficult with two young quarterbacks who, have some questions about their ability to sustain a consistently high level of aerial offense. So I think it's going to be a very run-heavy game today in Chicago. A slog between two offenses with a lot of questions right now. Just whether it's the bad offensive line of the Bears, the injuries to the 49ers with Kittle and their center both out. I think we see this one play well under 40 points.
And that plays perfectly into Matt's position on the Bears +7 here. But Matt, you want to go to the other matchup with AFC North teams involved, the Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings, and you're going to the total. It's 46.5 now, moving a bit in your favor.
Yeah, I think the Packers are still the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. And I know that it's a negative situation for them where without either of their tackles, they could experience pressure. Without theoretical number one wide receiver Alan Lazard, who's Aaron Rodgers going to throw to? I don't think it's really that big of a deal. He's been playing without his tackles for a while. And Alan Lazard, I don't think was going to be a true dominant number one wide receiver within that offense. So I don't think it really matters. Robert Tonyan is coming back, if that means anything, but I still like that offense. And I don't have much respect for the Minnesota defense, especially at corner. Patrick Peterson is your number one cornerback. That tells me everything I need to know about your defense. And for the Vikings offense, it's been top 12 over the past few years. I think they will be in that same vicinity, maybe even a little bit better. And, think about Chicago. They have weather issues. This game is being played in a dome. And so we don't need to worry about anything like that. And so I understand why you could look at this game and think that the under is the sharper play. I still think that these are two offenses going against two defenses. I like the Packers defense, but they have a lot of rookies on there. Jair Alexander coming back from injury. Like, they might not be as good early in the season as they will be later in the season. And that Minnesota defense, I just don't respect.
Pat, the next one up here for you, the Giants and the Titans, and you're liking this total that sits at 44 right now. Which way are you going?
Going under. Even though we have the key injuries to pass rushers on both sides with Thibodeau and Ojulari for the Giants and Landry with the Titans, I just think this is going to be a kind of a slog with the Titans. We know how they are going to approach this game. Run heavy, play action. And I mentioned it earlier, they just don't have a lot of big playmakers. And as much as I like the Giants as a possible upset pick here, they might have bugs to be worked out of the offense for sure in Brian Daboll's first game as the play caller. So we also know Daniel Jones could torpedo the efforts here of the Giants at a moment's notice with untimely turnovers. So we're going to play this one under 44.
Now, Matt, we have a cornucopia of excellent games to choose from today, but you had to go and choose tomorrow night's Monday Night Football game. The total now at 44 in this one between the Broncos and Seahawks. Where are you going?
Yeah, it's a disgusting game. The Seahawks have Geno Smith at quarterback. They want to run the ball. They will run for far longer than they should in this game. And on defense, they will do everything they can to keep Russell Wilson from beating them deep. Wilson's in a new offense with new receivers with a first-time head coach. So, we shouldn't expect him to light it up right away. There will be an improvement, but I don't think it's like Peyton Manning MVP season with the Broncos. So I think this game is played at a slower pace than the market probably projects. I have this at 43.5. Internally, we have it officially projected for closer to 42.5. So I will take the under in a disgusting Seahawks-Broncos game.
The Indianapolis Colts take on the Houston Texans. The total's at 45.5. Pat, you have a choice.
The Colts won their two meetings with the Texans 31-3 and 31-0 last year. So I see this one playing under again. The Texans, I think they're still going to have trouble with the Indianapolis defense, even though it's going to be without Shaq. Don't call me Darius Leonard. And we know that the Colts are going to want to run the ball here, and they pretty much did run it down the Texans' throats last year with Jonathan Taylor. I expect more of the same, which is going to make for a fast-paced game, get this one over with quickly, and probably with the Colts winning handily in a low-scoring game.
All right. Well, guys, we have some more bets to get to here before we end the show. But first, I want to remind you, if you want a chance to win a signed Joe Mixon Cincinnati Bengals jersey, courtesy of our friends at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel right now. You're already here. Just do it. Comment below on this video. Again, you're already here. And that's it. We'll be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications. Click that little alarm bell, and you'll be alerted when a new episode is ready to come out. But guys, right now, one prop each from you for today's slate. Matt, you go first.
All right, I'm looking Mecole Hardman under 3.5. I bet this at 4.5. It's now 3.5, but it is plus 125 at BetMGM at 3.5. We have this projected for exactly 3.5, actually a little bit to the under. So you're basically getting great plus odds at something that we think is a coin flip. So I think there's some value there. Hardman, man, he was competing for first team snaps with Justin Watson and Sky Moore. in the preseason. So I don't think he's guaranteed to play a lot of snaps. If he's out there, that doesn't mean he's getting targets. The Chiefs are going to be using more 2 tight end sets with Juju and MVS as the top wide receiver. So I think that means less playing time overall for McCole Hardman, and the Chiefs could get up big and then run the ball. So they might not even need to throw it all that much to win this game anyway. So I'm going under 3.5 receptions for Mecole Hardman.
Pat, how about you?
Joe Mixon. Since we have a Joe Mixon giveaway, we might as well have a Joe Mixon prop. Over 70.5 rushing yards. Last year against the Steelers, he had in 2 games 18 carries for 90 yards, 28 carries for 165 yards. The Bengals have since dramatically upgraded their offensive line. The Steelers have earnestly gone about fixing their run defense by drafting an overaged one-year wonder college quarterback in the first round. So I don't think their run defense is going to be significantly better this year. I like Mixon over the 70.5 rushing yards today.
Now, guys, let's make a money line parlay here together. Each of you give me a leg into a nice 2-teamer. Pat, what's your pick?
All right, plus 200 on those Giants to do it. So Freedman, take it from there.
Okay. Disgusting as it is, I'm looking at Texans plus 300 against the Colts. I think this number, against the spread market should be 5. Instead, it's 7. And that value translates to the money line market where they're plus 300 at DK versus 275 is the consensus. Divisional underdog at home, going against a team that historically has struggled in week 1. I think this number should be closer to 250, maybe even plus 225. So I will take it here and put it along with Fitz's number of the Giants.
A Giants Texans money line parlay here. There you have it, guys. All right. That is going to do it for us here on the show. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, don't forget, like, subscribe, and share. You know the whole bit. You can follow us on Twitter, follow us at BettingPros, and of course, catch all of the fantastic work Matt and Fitz do at Matt F. The Oracle and at Fitz_FF. That's going to do it for us here. But real quick before we go, it is a great day. We're going to have a lot of fun today. But don't forget, there is also the fact that 21 years ago today was objectively a tough time, and it is important, I think, to be able to just look back and at least take some time out of your day today to remember why we never forget. Guys, thank you so much for being with us here. It has been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you next week.